Welcome, Joyce.
Hi there,
Hi, welcome to our show.
Julia. It's you.
Yes, it's me. Welcome, everyone, to Books and More with Jewish Ladies, the podcast, the Facebook group, and the YouTube channel. And we're an influencer and we influence everywhere. So we have today with us a special guest. Who is she? Well, I'll tell you. We have Joyce Yarrow. Who is Joyce Yarrow? I don't know. Let me see. And I also have questions for her too. So pardon me while I adjust my monitor. Who is Joyce Yarrow? Joyce is an award-winning author of novels of suspense that, according to Library Journal, appeal to readers who enjoy unusual mysteries with an international setting. She considers the setting of her books to be characters in their own right and enjoys teaching workshops at conferences on the place in mystery writing. Her novels have reached five-star editorial reviews from Pencraft, the historical fiction company, Reader's Favorite, and the Midwest Book Review. Joyce has also worked as a scriptwriter for the Magic School Bus. My kids used to watch that. I love that show. For the Magic School Bus digital games, and is a multimedia performance artist. So, wow, I'm so happy to have such an accomplished person on my show. Welcome, welcome.
Oh, it's great to see you, Sylvia, and to meet you in person. You know, you're a wonderful book reviewer, and I've read many of your reviews, and here we are together across
Wonderful.
the coasts. I'm in Seattle, and you are in Georgia, is that right?
No, I'm in New Jersey.
You're in New Jersey. Okay, well, I had the right coast.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's snowing out here, so I don't know what's the weather. What is the weather like by you? Is it nice?
Oh, a little bit rainy, but we're gonna actually have some sun. We're pretty lucky here in the Pacific Northwest. But I
Okay.
grew up in the Bronx. We used to have blizzards, so I remember that quite well.
Oh, yes. All right. Now, do you have your book handy to show us? What is the
No,
name
I
of
thought
your book?
that I can go in.
Sandstorm. Sandstorm is the name of her book. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I read that book. I reviewed it. Now I have some questions for you, Joyce. Are you ready for the questions?
Sure, sure.
Okay. We'll start with question number one. Sandy has a very tough life due to the fact that her father left her and her mother passed away. Was there any truth to the story you wrote about her? Was it based on a person you knew?
Well, it was kind of a conglomerate of people that I knew when I was growing up in the Bronx. And Sandy was the name of a real person who was a bit of a bully at school. And I think I learned a lot about psychology from her because I used to be afraid of her and I would kind of take different routes to school to avoid her because she was kind of a threatening sort of person. And finally, the neighborhood kids got together and they made us have a fight on the streets, which I won. And I knocked her down and then I helped her get up. And I think after that, we became friends. So this was sort of the code of the streets. And so this is something that I took with me as I got older and left that neighborhood eventually, which was a really tough place. But I learned a lot about psychology and about how people are more complicated than we think they are. And there's always something underneath that makes them the way they are. Because I had to think about like, why was she like this? And then we became friends, and I just discovered that was her way of defending herself was to attack first. So that was sort of the beginning of my thinking like a writer at a pretty young age. I think I was maybe 10 or 11.
Amazing, amazing. Survival. Oh, sad, but good because you learned. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, will there be a movie made out of your book, which I hope the answer is yes. Um, Yeah, will there be a movie named Sandstorm out of your book? What do you
Well,
think?
I hope so. Right now, it's listed, it's in the top books on the blacklist, which used to just have screenplays, but now also has books that are listed there. And then different producers and people in the industry come and read and comment. So I've just started that process, and it's been very encouraging because the evaluations are quite good. And people like the book. They like the pace of it, and also that it's different. It doesn't glamorize crime, but it really digs into it on a deeper level. And I think that's something that a lot of the readers appreciate. They want that depth of understanding of character and not just, cliches about people that are criminals. And Sandy goes through a whole process where she tries to rejoin society after having been a grifter, a con woman, for many years. And it's not easy. It's not easy for people to cross back over. Once you've been cross that line into criminality, it's very difficult to come back into society. And it's, to accept making a living is hard. But being a criminal is also hard. So she has sort of these two elements that are conflicting within her throughout the book and get resolved pretty much at the end.
Just curious, and I often wonder this. What made you decide to become a writer? Why? Why
Hmm.
did you do it?
Well, I think I owe it to the Tremont Public Library on Washington Avenue in the Bronx, because that was the safest place to go in our neighborhood. And I used to spend a lot of time there, and books opened up a whole world to me that was outside of this sort of claustrophobic, crime-ridden neighborhood. And I owe that to my mom too. She used to take me to story time. So, like at the age of 3, I was totally enthralled by story time at the library. And my mom also wrote poetry and short stories. And in spite of, she supported the whole family and she was incredibly busy, and yet she found time to write. I think she was a really good role model for me. And she was just she died right before my first book was published, but she had read it and she kept saying to me, put more of me in your books. She wanted, so I did base a number of characters on her.
Fascinating, fascinating. Now, what do you hope readers get out of your book?
I think a sense about how our skills, and our identity can be double-edged swords, that we can use what we know and what we have become for good or for evil, basically, that we have that choice on a lot of different levels. And it's not so black and white as good and evil, but let's say for destructive or constructive purposes. And so this whole character's struggle is to find a way to apply her criminal skills of disguise and being able to psych people out, to apply that as an actress, in a respectable setting, although acting has always been a little bit unrespectable in the arts. But and I think that there's an artist inside of every person, and that needs to be expressed. And that when we find a way to express ourselves, we can leave behind, the more negative behaviors that we have when we feel empty inside and don't know who we are. So it's also a struggle for identity as well. And then the friends that she makes, I think I like people to take away from the book that we can create our own families. Not everybody has the perfect family they can rely on. Sandy certainly doesn't. But through friendships and making the right choices, sometimes we end up with a really strong family of friends, and that this is an option that people have.
Yes. Did your book win an award? And if so, what type of award?
Oh, it won a gold medal from the SIPA Evvy Awards in women's fiction. So it's kind of a crossover in that it is women's fiction because women's fiction is kind of defined as character development of a woman that you follow through a journey. But it's also quite a bit of a crime novel, and I kind of merged the two together. And I find people really they want to follow her through her journey, difficult as it is. And you have to trust a writer to do that, and that you're going to come out someplace, where you're not depressed and feeling awful, but also where there's a realistic portrayal happening. That's like a thin line for a writer.
What other types of books have you written and how many?
I think I've written 6 books. I'm starting to lose
Wow.
count.
Wow.
And all of them have been published. The first one with a really small publisher in Indiana, Ask the Dead, was mystery and had a private detective who was also a poet. And so she provided security at the slam, at the poetry slam. This was set in New York City. So a number of my books have been set in New York, even though I don't live there anymore. A big part of me still does, and I visit. So there was a Joe Epstein mysteries, and she traveled to Russia in the second book, The Last Matryoshka, which is also called Russian Reckoning. And she traveled to Russia to try to save her stepfather, who had gotten embroiled. His past had caught up with him, and he had gone back to Russia to try to set things straight. And so that kind of got me started with writing fiction set in different places, because I took my son on a research trip to Russia. And
Wow.
we were the first Americans to tour Vladimir Central Prison, as part of my
Oh,
research. We went inside and they clanged the door behind us. And he turned
oh,
to me, he was like 15 years old. And he
oh,
said, Mom, this is not a normal tourist activity.
oh
But
my.
he was a good sport. And, they had a museum inside the prison that was incredible, and art created by the prisoners. Although this is one of the most brutal prisons as well, it's kind of all for PR. So I really did a lot of research in Russia, in India. When I wrote Rivers Run Back, I made several trips to India and just traveled all around.
Wow.
Um,
This is
and
impressive.
my latest books are set in Spain. Sahara and the Lost Books of Light, and Stolen Lives are both set in Spain, in medieval and modern day Spain. So that's because it's a place you can go and you can travel in time just by being in that country now because the past is so alive.
Wow. That's amazing. You weren't afraid to travel around Russia. Pardon me. I
Well, I
mean,
had a friend who worked for a tourist agency there, and she arranged for a homestay for us. And with Lena, who had lost her husband in World War II and had a very interesting take on the way things were in Russia. She missed communism.
hmm,
And I think from her point of view, economically, because she was getting the equivalent of maybe $40 a month on her pension to live on. And so she had tourists come in. And so that was interesting she also gave me a tip. She said, when you go out in the street, bring a plastic bag and then they won't know you're a tourist if you have a backpack or whatever. So I did that. I would take a plastic bag with me to go out shopping or whatever. And one person stopped me on the street to ask directions. And I said, Yeah, Americanka.
that's
And they just
amazing.
started laughing. They asked an American for directions. So, yeah, sometimes when you're traveling, that's really a good tip. It's just sort of see what the locals carry with them and kind of blend in. And then, they'll kind of open up to you rather than seeing you, at a distance.
Fascinating. Did you pick up perhaps any of the languages while traveling to Russia? And you said India, right?
Well, as a singer, I can sing in almost 20 languages. I was in this wonderful world music group, but I can't speak any of them. But I do can manage to put the accent on a little bit because of the experience as a singer. But I'm not much of a linguist. But in Russia, I found a number of people spoke English, and I had a little bit of very elementary Russian. And when I would say that I was a writer, they would get so excited. They just love literature over there. And it doesn't matter if you're famous or who you are, it's just the fact that you are a writer and expressing yourself. So that was really refreshing for me, that kind of appreciation. And in India, many people speak English, so that was not too much of a problem. But I had friends who I stayed with, a family in Rajasthan, who are just wonderful people. And I was interviewing them about family life because Rivers Run Back it's a family saga. And I wanted to talk with women in particular. And I put that out on Facebook and I ended up meeting her and she invited me to Rajasthan to
What?
stay with her.
Oh my
And
goodness. Fabulous. That's
yeah,
fabulous.
she still teases me about the expression on my face when I arrived because I had no idea who I was going to meet or what it was going to. I must have looked really like, apprehensive, and it all worked out really wonderfully.
Wow, you are a fascinating writer, a fascinating lady. I didn't even know you were a singer. Um, Tell me, what was the favorite part what was your favorite part of Sandstorm when you were writing it? What was your favorite
Oh
part?
my goodness. Um, I think when she escapes with the help of her friend from the boot camp, where her father has dumped her, to be because he can't handle being a father, and he puts her in this boot camp in Arizona, and with the help of her friend Tiffany, she manages to escape, and that it sort of becomes the first action that she takes that you know that she's going to have the strength to get through all the ordeals that follow this. And so I guess when that came to me, when that whole idea came to me, I knew that I had a character that I wanted to develop and follow. It brought out her strengths because she also had a lot of weaknesses, right? And you have a flawed character who is actually, in some ways, a perfect actress because when she finally starts to dig into herself and express herself on the stage, through these different characters that she plays, that validates her as a person. It's kind of an ironic thing that you're being someone else, but your ability to do that defines your own self.
At many parts during the book, whenever the father was brought into the book, I felt myself getting so angry because I said to myself, what kind of father is this? I mean, obviously, he didn't have his act together. So he didn't even care much about his daughter at all. He just threw her aside. And somehow she was able to get her act together. But I felt so angry at that father. But then I said, he doesn't have his act together either. So when is he going to get help? You know? So I admired the daughter because she was able to overcome all that throughout all her struggles, but still she kept trying to better herself, better herself. But the father, I felt like he didn't care. He didn't even try to better himself at all. And I felt like what a
Well,
waste.
it was interesting because he really wronged her.
Yes.
But she, um, towards the end, there's a scene between them, and I'm not going to give it away, but I think that her being able to let go of her anger was an important part of her growth too, because just as long as we keep blaming anyone else, even if it's justified, as long as we blame other people for our problems, we're not going to grow. So that is sort of one of the things that she learns, and the hard way, everything. She learns everything immensely the hard way. But that's the path that she took. And I wanted people to see that. And there's a scene where she goes with her boyfriend to a movie about a heist. And she gets really upset at the way they portray the crime. And she said, no, they wouldn't do it that way. I know exactly how it would go down. And she kind of gives herself away because her boyfriend doesn't know about her past. But that's it, is for her to find people that can accept her past, but also help her build a more positive future. Because you've got to be with accepting people if they're going to be part of your family. And so there is a lot of kind of give and take and people wronging each other and then forgiving each other because that's a big part. A lot of times I think you don't know someone as a friend until you've had a fight and then you've made up. It's sort of then you really have a friend there because you've had a disagreement and been able to handle it. It's not just this pretending kind of superficial thing. So there's quite a bit of that, also the development of friendships in the book.
I thought the book had much to it. It was very realistic, true to life. So I like that a lot. A lot of struggles, a lot of overcoming things. It had a lot of content. The writing was very good. Was staying up late to read it. I couldn't put it down, as I do with your work, because I really do like it a lot. Um,
Thank you.
so definitely deserving of an award, and happy you got one. And I really would recommend it to be turned into the movie if anyone's listening, because read the book, guys. Read the book, guys. You will really like it. I mean, she's a really good writer, great author, and see for yourself. And read the book, comment, give feedback. And where can we buy your book, by the way? Where can we buy all your books?
Well,
Especially
they're available.
Sandstorm. Yeah,
All of them are available on Amazon and also online through Barnes and Noble and any of those big bookstores.
yeah.
You can go on their websites and order it and get it in a couple of days usually. So it's distributed by Ingram and it's been popular with libraries. It's starting to get purchased by libraries. So that's kind of a full circle for me because I have such a thing about libraries, and what they provide for us. And And also, what librarians are going through right now with books being banned and them having to defend their purchases and everything. I just feel for them a lot and try to do what I can, the little bit of activity around the banning of books.
That's good. I mean, I review on Library Thing, and if there's a book that's not on the catalog, I always try to add it to the catalog so they notice it and they say, yeah, we notice it. And it's important. You want to get the book out there for everyone to be able to read it, especially if it's a good book, especially if it's a book that can maybe help someone too, someone who's struggling, going through things too. And they, so, my life was a little like that. What can I do? I view it as a helpful book, overcoming something. So those books are very important and everyone should read that. So, and definitely you should, Sandstorm, I recommend it by Joyce Yarrow, guys. If you haven't read it, you really should read it. And like we said, we hope it's turned into a movie and uh producers out there, if you're listening. Joyce Yarrow.
Thank you for the plug, Sylvia, and your reviews are really marvelous. You read a very wide variety, and you always kind of get to the heart of the matter in your reviews. And I was really happy to read the one you wrote for Sandstorm.
I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that book. I mean, I read a lot, and authors, I want you to know out there, your books mean so much to me, especially if you're a good writer. And I know you put your hearts and souls into the books. I know you do. I know you put your heart and soul into the book. I can feel it when I'm reading, the emotions and everything. And it's a lot of hard work, Reading is hard work, reviewing, writing, it's hard work. So comment, guys, if you like this video, if you like the podcast, if you want to comment, put some comments out there. And
Sure.
do you want to say anything in closing, Joyce Yarrow? And thank you for
Well,
coming.
if anyone has any questions, sort of that came out of this, please feel free to ask them and I'll keep an eye, on the YouTube channel. And I wanted to thank you for the opportunity just to talk a little bit about my books, and to finally meet you and maybe in person when I'm on the East Coast next time. Because I think my next book is going to be partially set in Morocco. And
Oh,
so
what?
usually
No.
I go through New York, and then stay a little while and then I continue on. So
Oh my God, I have to tell you before we sign off, my mother was from Casablanca, Morocco. My
oh
mother.
my goodness.
And my husband is half Syrian, so Sephardic, a Sephardic Jew. So this is
Yeah.
fascinating. If you want to know anything about the cooking, oh my God, that's fascinating.
Oh,
Absolutely
you'll hear from me for sure.
fascinating. I'm so interested. And yes, I will. If you come to New Jersey, tell me. I would love to meet you. Oh my God,
Yeah,
I'm
for
so
sure.
excited. What's going to be the name of your next book? If you want to share it.
Well, it might be Hidden Waters.
I am so ecstatic. Did you start writing it yet?
I've been outlining and doing an incredible amount of research. I'm just about the point where I'm going to start to write. And my husband always says, "When are you going to stop going to the library?" When he says that, I know it's time to write because I could do that forever. There's so much you have to learn, especially a new setting like that. But I've found the setting that really works and is connected to Spain's history as well. It's a fascinating country, and they have these wells that uses very ancient technology, and some of the plot is going to be sort of around the conflict between the modernization and the ancient ways, which always interests me.
This is I'm I'm on cloud nine. I am so excited. This is exciting. And if you want to throw a little cooking into it, I have an author. I reviewed her book too. I think her family is also Moroccan, and she wrote a Moroccan cookbook. Check in my group, and oh, I can share with you
Oh,
stuff.
I'd love that. I'd love to see that.
I'm
Yeah,
very
yeah.
excited.
I'll
I'm
try
so
some
emotional
recipes.
right now. My God, this is going to be another one of your fantastic hits. Joyce Yarrow, guys, thank you so much. I can go on for hours talking to you. This has been a great interview. Thank you so much for coming on my YouTube channel, Books and More with Jewish Ladies, my Spotify channel, Books and More with Jewish Ladies, my Facebook group, and I'm now on Pinterest. I'm on X, Twitter, Blue Sky, Blue Ski. I'm all over.
Yeah, we found each other on Blue
I'm
Sky.
everywhere. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. So if you want to look me up, guys, and I'm reviewing everywhere because we want to help these authors. Read the book, guys. Review it. Put two sentences even. I mean, My God, you won't regret it. Trust me. Joyce Yarrow, Sandstorm. It's great. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for having me, Sylvia. I really enjoyed talking with you.
I did as well, and I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you so much for coming on my show. Goodbye, and thank you. Thank you so much. And we're going to end now, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.